Hi guys, it's Mishel, Deception Bytes, and today is October 12th, and it's 6:53 p.m. Eastern Time. Also, for those of you that are off this weekend, good news! It's Friday. Yeah, but I'm going to have to give you a little bit more, on a more somber note, I'm going to have to tell you that it's a no Q day, meaning that Q has not posted today. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at Q-related news because we've got lots and lots of that. Now, I have been collecting these over the last few days, so some of them may be a little stale, which I don't like to give out stale news because, I mean, that's why they call it news, right? If not, it would be called olds. And, it's kind of like eating Caesar salad that's like a day old, like, ooh. And God forbid it be 2 days old. That's really not good at all. But I'm only saying that, of course, because I just finished a wonderful, fabulous Caesar salad, fresh and crisp with grilled chicken on top. So it's supper time, guys. Go get yourself a Caesar salad. Or, just between you and me, you've probably been listening to me a while and we're like friends. So if you want to go, order yourself a pizza and throw some croutons on, I'll tell everybody you had salad for supper. Okay, so let's get started here. Now, let's see. There's lots of stuff here, so let me grab some stuff. I've got tons of Q-related news. All right, now this is interesting. Very interesting, I think. And no, it's not fresh out of the oven, but nobody's reporting on it. So, Google drops out of Pentagon's 10 billion cloud competition. Wonder why that would be. I bet you it's a conflict between China. I do, because we know that Google is just, right in there. They are bed buddies with China, so that's kind of incompatible with working on the Pentagon's cloud. So that's what I'm thinking, but let's see what they say. Alphabet Inc.'s Google has decided not to compete for the Pentagon's cloud computing contract valued at as much as 10 billion, saying the project may conflict with its corporate values. Well, Google, I can just about guarantee you that it will conflict with your values, which let's not even call them values because that's an oxymoron. I just don't think what you have is called values. All right, let's go on. The project, known as the Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure Cloud, or JEDI, you gotta love that. You can't make that stuff up. Seriously, you can't. Involves transitioning massive amounts of Defense Department data to a commercially operated cloud system. Companies are due to submit bids for the contract, which could last as long as 10 years on October 12th. That would be today. Look at that. Well, there you go. Google announcement on Monday came just months after the company decided not to renew its contract with the Pentagon artificial intelligence program after extensive protests from employees of the internet giant about working with the military. Oh my gosh, we can work with the Chinese, but not the military. Oh my gosh, we can't work with the American military. No. That makes about as much sense as, well, actually, nothing Google does lately makes too much sense. It makes sense from the point of view of making money, but I guess that's just all they're about. They don't care about anything else about the American way, or the American way of life, or maintaining it. The company then released a set of principles designed to evaluate what kind of artificial intelligence projects it would pursue. Well, tell us all about it, Google, because you are the people that we look up to as, setting the principles and, the ethics Yes, you are who we look up to for that. We are not bidding on the Jedi contract because, first, we wouldn't be assured that it would align with our AI principles. Oh, I can assure you it wouldn't, Google. A Google spokesman said in a statement. And second, we determined that there were portions of the contract that were out of scope with our current government certifications. Yeah. Yeah, right. Okay, Google. The spokesman added that Google is working to support the U.S. government with our cloud in many ways. Oh, I bet you are. And what kind of a cloud would that be? Anyway. The Tech Workers Coalition, which advocates for giving employees a say in technology companies' decisions, said in a statement that Google's decision to withdraw from the cloud competition stemmed from sustained pressure from tech workers who have significant power and are increasingly willing to use it. Okay. Yeah. Oh, well, there was staff backlash. Yes, I'm sure Google has to really worry about staff backlash. They could probably hire anyone. They have the money to hire the best of the best. So I'm just not seeing that as an issue personally. Google is behind other technology companies such as Amazon.com Inc. and Microsoft Corporation in obtaining government cloud security authorizations that depend on sensitivity of data a service is hosting. Actually, what really happened, and I can tell you this, they're not going to let Google work on a project for the military at the same time as they've got their hand up as far, up the hinder parts of the Chinese, just as far as their hand will go. And, they can't have it both ways. That's what this is. But of course, Google's going to try and spin it the way Google does. So that's why they're saying this. Oh, no, it's against, we have principles, we have morals. We can't work with the military. Yeah, whatever. We can work with the Chinese. I mean, well, yeah, we know that there's some human rights abuses, but, still. Anyway. Had the Jedi contract been open to multiple vendors, we would have submitted compelling solution for portions of it, the Google spokesman said. Google Cloud believes that a multi-cloud approach is the best interest of government agencies because it allows them to choose the right cloud for the right workload. Whatever. Alrighty. In a report to Congress, the Defense Department said making multiple awards under current acquisition law would be a slow process that could prevent the DoD from rapidly delivering new capabilities and improved effectiveness to the warfighter that enterprise-level cloud computing can enable. The department also said it expects to maintain contracts with numerous cloud providers to access specialized capabilities not available under the Jedi Cloud contract. So there you go. Just more, really the news now, if it's from the mainstream source, it's pretty much fiction. And, really, I've got a great imagination. I always have. And they should hire me to write the news because I could just make up stuff. I mean, great. I could do that. Well, not morally, ethically, but I could. All right. Anyway. Let's go on. Now, this is fairly new and quite alarming. Truck set on fire because of pro-Trump stickers, owner says. Now, I believe we're going to be seeing more and more of this. I really do. And I believe that the Democrats are trying to incite it. Let's see if they're going to show this. The hamsters are slow tonight for some reason. Yes, anytime now. That's alarming, really, that somebody would target a truck just because of a sticker. Not the first time. I remember growing up here in Canada. I did grow up in Canada. I moved to the States when and lived most of my adult life in the States. But growing up here, we used to have these cars called Lada, Lada, and they were Russian. And I remember a time where you could not drive one of those because they would be destroyed. They'd be keyed, whatever. And because people were angry that they were even here. So, this is like that. And to tell you the truth, I'm not sure if I had, a brand new vehicle, I'm not sure I'd be wanting to ride around with a Trump sticker. And that's sad. I mean, really, that's sad, because it seems like if you are wearing a t-shirt or a Make America Great hat or anything that pegs you as a Trump supporter, you are going to be targeted or could be targeted. And that is sad. That's certainly not the America that I knew, and probably not the America you grew up in. So it's sad. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. It's not surprising. Not surprising at all. But anyway, let's go back and see what we have here. And look at this. This is going to infuriate you, no doubt. Busted. Democrat Senate candidates hurricane relief link redirects to Democrat fundraising page. How do you like that? Well, I can tell you that I don't like it much at all. And I just don't know. To me, it seems like they're just not, they they continue to surprise me by, entering lower and lower levels of whatever, degradation, I guess. A Florida Democrat running for U.S. Senate was busted Thursday morning for apparently masquerading a Hurricane Michael donation link as a Democrat fundraising tool. Speaking of, at Nelson for Senate, fundraising during hurricane, this is interesting. The link his campaign posted to raise money for disaster relief efforts takes you to Act Blue, the Democrats' fundraising engine, building donor list through hurricane relief contributions. According to Free Beacon's Brent Shear, that's exactly what was happening. And this is his tweet. And Senator Bill Nelson is fighting for dear life to keep his seat against surging Florida Governor Rick Scott, a Republican. Act Blue's mission statement is to empower small dollar donors. It is an independent software nonprofit that has been used to raise over $2 billion for Democrats and their causes since 2004. So why is it that this candidate's hurricane relief link directly links to the Democrats' fundraising page? Well, that's a good question. But let's just show this person, if you are in Florida, let's show this person what we think of that by voting for his adversary, who's Governor Rick Scott. Yeah, that's the only way you can fight stuff like that. So hopefully he has done that to himself. And yeah, bye-bye. We don't need people like that in the Senate. We've got people like that already. We don't need more. Absolutely not. So, and we, the people, have the power. Now, I don't live in Florida, but I can just about assure you that some of you guys that are listening do. And I bet you vote too. So, there you go. If you have any more information about this, put it in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm just going to go on here. Let's see what this is. I cannot remember what this is, but I bet you it's something tasty. Maybe not as tasty as my Caesar salad, but let's just check anyway. Oh yes, this is Caesar salad worthy. New State Department says Hillary Clinton's security clearance has been withdrawn at her request. Well, let me see. I don't believe that. Now, this, according to a statement from Senate Judiciary Committee. Oh, I believe that her security clearance has been withdrawn. I just don't believe that her security clearance has been withdrawn at her request. That's what I don't believe. And I would just about bet, wouldn't bet my life, not into betting my life, but I'm not a betting person, but I'd bet something. Okay, let me see if this is okay. The U.S. State Department recently confirmed that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's security clearance has been withdrawn at her request. Clearances for 5 other individuals whom Clinton designated as researchers have also been withdrawn, including close aide Cheryl Mills, according to the State Department's update of its ongoing review of the mishandling of classified information related to the use of Clinton's non-government email server. Documents containing classified material have been sent to the Bureau of Diplomatic Security, and all valid security incidents have been added to the security file for some individuals. Department authorities are continuing to review tens of thousands of documents for classified content. The update was provided to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley and is being released for the first time following consultation with the State Department. The update follows a letter from the department in May of 2017 confirming the department's review of any mishandling of classified information stemming from the use of Clinton's non-government email server. That letter, which responded to an inquiry from Grassley, also outlined the review and adjudication process. The recent letter from the State Department is available here. We don't need to go out and see that, but I do think that this is quite interesting. Now, I bet the conversation went something like this. Hey, Hillary, we're going to take away your security clearance. Now, you can either do that voluntarily and we can announce that you voluntarily withdrew, or we can force you to, in which case it will be reported that we needed to force that removal. I can bet you that's how the conversation went. But I wasn't there, and neither were you. So we will be just forced to surmise. Anyway, let's go on, just because we can. Now, this is something new today that I just saw. Excuse me. Whenever I start to talk, I cough, and I don't know why. This is something new and mysterious. All right. Breaking. Antifa attacks GOP headquarters in New York City. Warns merely the beginning. Well, is anybody surprised? Anybody at all? Raise your hand. I did see one hand, but I think that person's on medication. Anyway, let me see here. Far-left activists associated with Antifa and other radical hate groups attacked the Republican Party headquarters in New York City late Thursday evening, vandalizing the historic building and warning the incident was merely the beginning. Our attack is merely a beginning. We are not passive. We are not civil. Oh, they're definitely not civil. And we will not apologize. Well, of course not. Pigs usually don't. The New York GOP released shocking images immediately following the assault, writing the New York City headquarters at the Metropolitan Republican Club was physically vandalized last evening with broken windows, spray paint, and more. But that's all these people know how to do. They can't have a valid conversation because they're not articulate enough. They're not articulate enough. They don't have their own views. They have, they're parrots. They're not eagles. They're parrots. And they're gonna parrot back whatever you tell them, like little mockingbirds, just like the media. That's it. You don't need brains for that. And so you can't have a conversation with them. You can't deal with them in a civil matter because, like they said, they're not civil. So that's all these people know to do, is destroy. That's all they know to do. And it's sad. It's very, very sad. What does this accomplish? What has this accomplished? Nothing. It accomplishes absolutely nothing. Will this change anybody's mind? Will anybody look at that and think, you know something, I should rethink my position on voting Republican? Like, who passes that building and all of a sudden says, you know something, that building, you know, that vandalism there makes me want to, yeah, I think I'm going to vote Republican. I think I'm going to vote Democrat. Nobody. It has accomplished absolutely nothing. And, you know, they're going to go out there, they're going to replace the windows, they're going to repaint, and nothing will have been accomplished except pushing more Democrats over to the Republican platform. That's what they're doing. You know. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Hang on. So, the attackers left an ominous note. Oh my gosh, not an ominous note. Really? Yes, I said an ominous note. At the scene, saying the U.S. government has established concentration camps around the country for Latino people, shamelessly murdering black people, and continues its war machine that has slaughtered Muslim people with impunity for decades. Oh. Well, you know, forget about what I said about it not accomplishing anything. That was before I knew that they'd left an ominous note. Our attack is merely a beginning. We are not passive. Oh, no. Nobody's ever accused you of being passive. Passive-aggressive, yes. You're passive-aggressive. No doubt about that, but you're not passive. We are not passive. We are not civil. Oh, no, nobody's ever accused you of being civil. And we will not apologize. Well, yeah, you've never apologized in the past, so we're not, holding our breath on that either. Those of good conscience and clear mind know the state of oppression cannot remain. That's right. So we need to get rid of you, Antifa. You are the problem. That's right, you, the ominous note writers. The U.S. fascist political system is one of the most savage institutions in history, and we will combat it relentlessly until all are free of American barbarism, adds the note. Oh, and exactly how, Antifa, how are you going to free us all from American barbarism? By writing your ominous notes, or perhaps spray painting on our doors? Is that what's going to free us? Interesting. That's an interesting battle plan that you have there. Shows that you are just intellectually gifted. Right. All right, let's go on. Now, what is this? Well, I know you're saying, well, we don't know what it is. What is it? Well, let's go and see, because I don't know where I was. Did we look at this? I think we did. I think this might be...
About earlier this...
Oh, yes. I remember this now. We're going to play all 2 minutes and 35 seconds of this, and it is from Headlines with a Voice. And I do want to give, kudos where kudos are due here, because this is interesting. Okay, let's listen.
Welcome to your daily digest of current events and commentary. This is Headlines with a Voice.
While everyone is focused on the Kavanaugh three-ring circus, guess who's in the process of moving their entire operation to China? Axiom. Axiom is a tech company in the business of collecting data on everyone, as in everyone on the planet, not just United States citizens. Remember the digital encryption keys we talked about earlier this month? The name of the company was Entrust, remember? And Jerry Jones, Hillary's former partner at the Rose Law Firm in Arkansas, he was a Class 1 director of Entrust, remember? Well, it turns out that Entrust was sold to Axiom, and Jones is still a controlling officer. Axiom in recent years has focused on something termed data onboarding. Data onboarding is accessing hard copy documents that were created prior to the current digital age. Accessing those documents like yearbooks, court documents, photos, etc., and digitizing them. Axiom's objective is to have the goods, literally, on everyone, everywhere, to be able to control everyone, everywhere. And now, the entire outfit's moving to Shanghai, China. So what? You're probably thinking. No big deal, right? That's what I initially thought too, but after listening to the explanation presented by Michael McCumber, CEO of Leader Technologies and head of the world-class researchers at Americans for Innovation, they're the ones that recently uncovered this demonic enterprise. It is a big deal, a really big deal, because through this relocation to Shanghai, China, Axiom has put China, together with the Hildebeest, in a position to easily access and control information on everyone, everywhere. I've provided a link in the production notes of an interview of Michael McCumber by Douglas Gabriel. They discuss and explain the dangers of Axiom's objective and the list of characters that are happily making it possible. The usual suspects. Pretty much all of them. With your daily digest of current events and commentary, this has been Headlines with a Voice.
Now, tell me, why haven't we heard any of this on the mainstream media? Now, I know. It's kind of, I'm preaching to the choir here, actually, because I know you guys get it. I know you do. But really, if the world were not as strange and surreal as it is now, this would be news everywhere. But it's not, is it? It's buried. This is where I heard it, right from this person, and I'm not even sure how I got to this channel. I'm not sure what I was researching, but I found this, and this is the only place I've heard this. So, I know that it's known, but it's not real known. Unbelievable. It just gets stranger and stranger and stranger. Now, we looked at that. Now, let's look at this. Well, I'm not sure what to think about this. I just saw this actually probably an hour ago because I saw it because somebody responded to a comment I had made about Hillary and said basically about this. Well, let me read this. Russian bank tells DOJ mysterious Trump computer connections may have been hacker hoax. So now the not the DNC, but the Democrat Party is coming out and saying, oh, but Trump computer at Trump Towers has been connecting with this Russian bank. So that was how somebody responded to me, like, oh, well, please, could you answer me this? If the Russian thing is just fake, then what about this? So I looked this up because I'd never heard this. This is brand new. So I guess they are trying to, distract us again and change the narrative back to the Russian narrative because that's all they know. It doesn't matter if it hasn't worked, they're just going to keep trying. It's like, isn't that the definition of insanity? You do the same thing over and over and over again, hoping for different results. Well, that's what they're doing. Well, we know it hasn't worked before, but we're just going to keep on with the Russian thing. We're just going to keep hammering it because, there's still people out there that believe that there was Russian collusion and that Trump is guilty, even though there's not one shred of evidence to support it. People still believe it. And you know why? Because the mainstream media is just hammering on it and hammering on it and hammering on it. And when they can't get anywhere on that, then they trot out Stormy Daniels or the next little tart and, have her accuse somebody of something. It's unbelievable. Anyway, A Russian bank has reported to U.S. authorities that mysterious communications resumed recently between one of its computers and an email server tied to President Trump's business empire, and it has developed evidence the new activity may be the work of a hacker trying to create a political hoax, Circa has learned. Alpha Bank is asking the U.S. Justice Department for help solving the mystery and pledged its full cooperation. Now, somebody described it to me like this. If you are sent an envelope, a letter or something, and it's got a wrong address on it, what you do is you stick it back in the mail so it'll get to the right place. And apparently, the computer equivalent of that happened because this bank, Alpha Bank, something went to Trump Towers and they sent it back because knowing that it was not for them, I guess. That's what somebody tried to explain to me. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to you that I know all about what has happened here, but I do know that I do not believe for a second that Trump is guilty of anything, because I think it is exactly that. It's the work of a hacker trying to create a political hoax. And we are in that very, very tenuous time right before an election. Usually that's when an October surprise happens. And, so it's not surprising. Alpha Bank is asking the U.S. Justice Department for help solving the mystery and pledged its full cooperation. Alpha wants U.S. authorities to help unmask a computer inside the United States that it believes has been used to launch cyber attacks, spoofing the appearance of a backdoor communication channel between Moscow and America's 45th president, according to a source directly familiar with the bank's request. The bank believes these malicious attacks are designed to create the false impression that Alpha Bank has a secretive relationship with the Trump organization, the source said, speaking on condition of anonymity. Alpha Bank has insisted, since media stories began appearing last fall about the computer communications known as domain name servers lookup, that it has never had a relationship to Trump or any of his companies, and that any connections between the two parties' computers were innocuous. The resumption of the computer pings started last month, and Alpha cybersecurity expert traced evidence that activity was actually being spoofed or hacked through a third party from a masked computer address inside the United States, the source said. Oh, I can't wait till they trace it right to that computer. I wonder whose it is. I can't wait. Oh, this just sounds like something fun to watch. The attacks attempted to trigger verification signals between Alpha Bank and a server associated with the Trump organization, the source said. So, like a return address. I guess this is where this person was coming from in what they were trying to explain to me. The source said the spoofing attempt is equivalent to someone in the U.S. sending an empty envelope to the Trump Towers, but putting on the envelope a return address in Russia, causing the Trump server to falsely return the communication back to Moscow. The source cautioned it does not yet have evidence that the same activity occurred between last May through September, causing the generation of the first server pings that computer scientists reported last fall might be evidence of secret communications between Trump and Russia. Alpha's working hypothesis about those earlier connections have been routine computer communications caused when an email server responds to commercial spam mail. The new evidence may lead to a reevaluation of that conclusion, the source said. The computer scientists' allegations last fall became so widespread, eventually appearing in media reports from Slate, CNN, and the New York Times, and the FBI briefly investigated them. Agents concluded there was no evidence from the pings of a nefarious relationship and that they probably were the result of a routine computer behavior. Circa reported Tuesday that one of the scientists who raised media concerns about the Trump-Russia connections was Al Jean Camp, an Indiana University researcher who made 22 donations totaling more than $1,500 to Hillary Clinton last year. She told Circa that her political donations had no bearing on her concerns about the data gathered by a loose group of colleagues who legitimately believe the connections should be investigated. Yeah, I believe that. Alpha still hasn't determined how the computer scientists gained access to the computer logs last year, but hopes its cooperation with the Justice Department may identify the source of the current computer activity, as well as create a more complete picture of what may have caused the similar computer connections last year, the source said. The source said that the first cyber attack detected by Alpha this year occurred on February 18th from an unidentified third party connected to a U.S. internet provider that sent out suspicious DNS queries from servers in the U.S. to a Trump Organization server. The unidentified individual or individuals made it look as though these queries originated from variants of Moscow Alpha intranet. As a result, the DNS responses from the Trump server were returned incorrectly to Alpha Bank's server, which triggered Alpha Bank's automated security. Soon after, news media reports began making new inquiries to Alpha Bank about the old allegations from last fall. Similar new spoofing attacks were detected again on March 11th and 13th, the source said. So it's pretty obvious where this is coming from. Now, this is actually from back in March. So why it's coming up now, I don't know. This is an old article, and it's the only article we have, but people are increasingly using it online. And those people are Democrats. They're using this again. So anyway, there you go. Let's go back and see what else we can find. Oh, well, look, here's something interesting and disturbing. Interesting and disturbing. Police take down child trafficking ring, and, there's a little dig at those of you that don't believe anything is happening. Behind the scene, we've had more child trafficking rings taken down, and pedophile rings and everything else, more than any president has ever had. There's been more arrests, there's been more indictments, there's been more than any former president. Police take down child trafficking ring selling babies on Instagram for $1,000. Human traffickers posing as family welfare institution shut down during major bust. Imagine selling a child for $1,000. I don't know. I don't know what to say. A child trafficking network that was selling children and babies for as little as $1,000 has been shut down by police. The Indonesia-based human traffickers were advertising the infants for sale via an Instagram profile that claimed to sell children globally for upwards of 1,375 Australian dollars, which is 1,000 US dollars. 4 people have been arrested for their involvement. The child trafficking ring that posed as a seemingly official organization called Family Welfare Institution. The Instagram page for the group had over 100 posts that advertised children and babies for sale. Some of the posts show images of who were claimed to be families and mothers of the children offered for sale, and even pregnant women offering a baby that's available soon. I am unmarried and 7 months pregnant. My plan is to find someone who wants to adopt my child and provide me with accommodation until my pregnancy's due date. I don't want my family to find out, one mother was quoted as saying. The convincing operation claimed it was helping to cover someone's disgrace by connecting unwanted children with new families and gave the appearance of a charity or adoption agency when in fact it was selling children to anyone who paid the asking price. Investigators found that traffickers have been selling Indonesian babies for over a year on the Facebook-owned social media platform. The profile for the child trafficking ring is still currently active on Instagram, with posts advertising children for sale that are still live on the site. Authorities arrested a 29-year-old man who allegedly ran the ring, identified only as AP. AP was among 4 people apprehended before a transaction took place during a sting operation in the Indonesia city of Surabaya this week, according to the Indonesian newspaper Compass. The other 3 suspects include a 22-year-old woman who attempted to sell her infant son, a broker, and a buyer. Wow. Wow. This poor child. I hope the child is taken away from her, which I guess it would be if she's going to prison. But according to the Daily Mail, the page is posted more than 100 times, featuring distorted pictures of young women and their babies, and the operators were allegedly attempting to connect with potential buyers. One post, published on September 15, shows a pregnant woman from the Indonesian city of Banjarmasin advertising her child in advance of its birth. If you want to leave your child for adoption or want to adopt a child, contact us for the process, the accompanying text reads in Indonesian. The more recent images of the babies and some of the women have been darkened to obscure their identities, while the earliest posts, dating to September 2017, had women wearing masks. Now, it's interesting, and I wonder how many children they have actually exchanged for money. I mean, you have to wonder. And what happened to these children? Were they going to loving homes? Because there are people that can't have children that would fall for such a thing as this because they're desperate and they just want a child to love. They're not trying to do anything, underhanded or sneaky. They just want a child, and it's sometimes hard to get a child. I know here in Canada it is. I don't know in the States. There seem to be more children for adoption when I lived there, but I don't know. Under each of the posts is a contact number with the page's owners imploring women who also wish to sell their children to reach out to them. Some posts are of WhatsApp conversation between the operators and those allegedly attempting to sell the children. The children for sale aren't given names, but rather letter and number codes. According to a local publication, of the 4 people arrested by Indonesian police, one was 29-year-old Alton Finandita Prianto, alleged to operate the Instagram page. Another was a 22-year-old mother who allegedly worked with Prianto to sell her 11-month-old child. Police were alerted to the Instagram page when it published an advertisement for the child. Okay, I don't need to go on here, but this is really alarming. And you know what? I don't think that this is an isolated event. I think these things are happening all the time. I don't know what happened to the mothers. Maybe they killed the mothers. Maybe it is, on the up and up, so to speak. I mean, it's still illegal, but maybe they were, just finding homes for children, which I really, really doubt, because that's just not the way you go about it. But this is horrible, and I really, really hope that none of these children are in danger. We don't know, because we don't know how many children that have gone through that process before it was taken down. Anyway, let's go back. And I'm just trying to get some of these closed down so that we can have a little bit more juice, because everybody needs juice. All right, now, here we go. All right. Now, this is something else that has just come out that I find interesting, because we know that there is a real attack on masculinity in this country, in this continent, really, North America. There is a huge war on with masculinity. There really is. And the thing is, it's in the food, all the phytoestrogens and the stuff's being sprayed in the sky. I mean, it's coming at men from all directions. The women are becoming far more aggressive and masculine, and referring to anything masculine as toxic. And, really, it's getting to the point where men are afraid to even date women because they could be accused of something. They could, and I really can't blame them. So here we are, down with dads. Researchers spawn healthy mice from 2 mothers. It's not enough that men are being emasculated, and they are. I don't care if you agree with me or not on this. I see it every day, and I continually correct women who have that attitude. I continually correct them because it's being fed to them and they're parroting it, but they don't know why. It's everywhere you look. Even in the cartoons, you see weak fathers like Homer Simpson. You know, he's a weak father. I remember I was somewhere, I think I was in a dentist office, and I was watching cartoons while I was waiting because that's what was on the TV. And there was some cartoon about this guy. I don't even know what it is, because if I could find it again, I would. I did try to look. But basically, the father, he couldn't get a job and was just this big loser. And the father was trying to get a job, and the mother was doing everything she could to sabotage it. And finally, when he lost his job, the family was back to normal again, because he was just this big loser. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I really couldn't. And that's what's being portrayed in the media over and over and over again. And I think you can look and just, go down the list. The father characters are weak. We don't have the type of strong male characters that we had, 20 years ago in the media. So, I don't know. To me, this is just more of the same. That, we don't need men. We don't even need men to procreate now. Well, you know what? We do need men. Yeah, we were created male and female. And I do believe we have a creator. And I believe that creator created us male and female. Now, you can disagree with me and whatever, but, and I'm not against anyone. If they want to, whatever they want to do is their business, that's fine. But my opinion, that's just my opinion because of my faith, and that's how I feel. But I would never, I'm not against anyone. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that this is, for me, this is how I live. This is what I feel. This is what I think. And I think that men are being continually emasculated in our society. Continually. And this is just more of the same. Why do you want to create something that has two mothers and no father? Why? What is the purpose? I don't understand. I don't understand. It is the first time a mammal has been reproduced with two mothers and no father. In a major breakthrough in the field of epigenetics, I don't call that a major breakthrough, personally. Scientists at the Chinese Academy of Sciences may have just rendered males obsolete. Well, for mice, anyway. And you think they're going to stop at mice? Really? Really? You think they're going to stop at mice? They're not. Wouldn't the feminists, wouldn't the pussy hat wearing women love that? Oh, we don't need you men anymore. No, we don't need you now. We just needed you for procreation, but not anymore. You know that's what they're doing. They're moving towards. And you might call me an alarmist. No, I'm a realist. I mean, when have they ever stopped with just an experiment? They're experimenting for a reason. And now they've been successful. So what do you think that's going to lead to? The rules of reproduction may have changed irrevocably after the researchers overcame the joint male-female barrier to sexual reproduction in mammals for the first time, using 210 embryos to create 29 live, healthy mice with two mothers, but no father. Well, hooray for you. We are interested in the question of why mammals can only undergo sexual reproduction, says the study's senior co-author, Shi Zhao. Parthenogenesis, or sperm-free reproduction, is common among insects, fish, and lizards, but not in mammals. Well, maybe that's because they are insects, fish, and lizards, and not mammals. What about that? Hey, is that okay with you? No, apparently not. No, we had to push that so that wasn't just insects, fish, and lizards, but, mammals. They need to be, they need to reproduce free of sex as well. And then, I guess the men will just, we won't need their sperm anymore, or I don't know. I guess they'll just go into the brothels with sex robots, which are popping up everywhere. Pardon the pun. Anyway, the team concentrated on roughly 100 genes that are activated when they come from both parents, but rely on each other for correct development. However, using only genetic material harvested from 2 female mice, the team began deleting certain key sequences in the DNA of embryonic stem cells using the CRISPR-Cas9 genetic cutting tool. Yeah, that's what we need to be doing. That's what we need to be doing. We need to be just messing around with the genetics of everything. It's not enough that, our fruits and vegetables are all genetically modified now. No, let's genetically modify everything. Okay. Traditionally, problems arise when attempting to reproduce clones using DNA from single-sex parents, as certain gene expressions can be muted depending on the sex of their donor parent, running the risk of doubling up on certain gene expressions but missing out on other critical genetic markers necessary for healthy development. Japanese researchers were able to overcome this obstacle in 2004, but the procedure was deemed too inefficient and costly. However, epigenetics has advanced a great deal in the subsequent 14 years. The Chinese researchers strategically deleted specific regions on the female stem cells' chromosomes, thus making them more akin to primordial germ cells, the precursor of eggs and sperm, according to Bai Yang Hu, also a senior co-author on the study. Now, interesting. FDA to use aborted fetus parts to breed humanized mice, pro-lobby outraged. Well, that is another article. The fatherless mice achieved maturity themselves, reproduced the old-fashioned way without any issue. While a major step in single-sex parent fertilization, the current technique is far from perfect. Just 29 live mice were produced from 210 embryos. In addition, the success could not be replicated with babies from male-only mice. None of the 12 mice that were born survived 48 hours. Male mice will have to up their game to stay relevant, it seems. Now, think of that. Male mice will have to up their game to stay relevant, it seems. Now, you just take out the mice there, and that's what they're really saying. Men in general will have to up their game to stay relevant. And there is, I love this. This came from an old commercial, and it was about cheese. And this mouse, of course, is going for the cheese, and it gets snapped in this. And it's horrible because you think the mouse is dead, and then it starts doing push-ups. That was one of my favorite commercials ever. Anyway, this is alarming. It's alarming. Now, let's look at this. Because, China also, their cows, they have cows that produce human milk. That is true. You can look it up. I know it sounds way out there, but it's true. Because the milk then, it's like being breastfed, because it's literally, they have now, I don't know what they've done to the cows, but the cows literally produce human milk. Whatever genetic manipulation they needed to do, that is true. You can look it up. It's crazy. It's absolutely ludicrous. Rodent explosion lab accidentally breeds 180,000 mice, conducts unauthorized experiments. Oh, and I'm sure that's the only time that's ever happened. Yeah. So, yeah. I can't get into that. But they're wanting to, what did they say they wanted to do in the last? They wanted to, oh no, that's not the article that we were looking at. It was this. FDA to use aborted fetus parts to breed humanized mice. Yeah. That's lovely, isn't it? Why would we want humanized mice? I guess I know they'll say, oh, well, it's so that we can test these different diseases and blah, blah, blah. There's always a reason, but it's never a good thing. in a headline that reads, like the darkest nightmares of the pro-life lobby, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is using tax dollars to buy aborted fetus parts to feed humanized mice for experiments. According to FDA documents, the agency intends to acquire fresh human fetal tissue from Advanced Bioscience Resources, a California-based nonprofit that specializes in sourcing human tissue for scientific research. According to ABR, this tissue is obtained from first or second trimester abortions as well as full-time stillbirths. The non-profit company offers clients bespoke services, allowing them to specify tissue characteristics, preservation methods, and delivery times. Under its last contract with ABR, the FDA will purchase $15,900 worth of fetal tissue. The agency has been purchasing such tissue from ABR for several years as it continues its research into developing humanized mice, lab mice with human immune systems. What could go wrong there? By removing a mouse's bone marrow and implanting human thymus and liver tissue, human stem cells can then be introduced and will be used by the mouse to form a functioning human immune system. These mice can then be used to test the adverse effects of drugs on the human immune system. The pro-life lobby has accused the FDA of using tax dollars to fuel a demand for fetal tissue. They argue that as its experiments need a constant supply of fresh tissue, the FDA has a vested interest in the continuation of legalized abortion. Under no circumstances should the U.S. government be contracting with baby parts dealers like ABR, who have partnered with abortion giant Planned Parenthood, or taxpayers be forced to fund such atrocities, said Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the pro-life Susan B. Anthony List Group. We call on Congress to stop taxpayer funding of these repugnant practices and act swiftly to ban them altogether. Every part of this transaction is a tragedy. A woman is driven to abort her baby too often by coercion or abandonment, and there in the shadows is a government contractor waiting to tear apart the baby's body to deliver pieces in exchange for payment, added Kathy Roos of the Family Research Council, another anti-abortion group. So, yeah, and then they get into the tissue business, which is big business. It's a big business. So, yeah. I understand. I mean, when you look at it from clearly just a logistical way, it sounds like a good idea. They can test the drugs, but where is this going to end? When are they going to start, well, I want a blue-eyed baby, and I want them to have blonde hair, and I want them to have olive skin, and I want them to have this and that, and I want it, and then just designer babies. You think that's far off in the future? I don't. All right. Well, we have lots more to cover, but I'm going to break it off there because I know that people get video fatigue. Absolutely. So I'm going to cut it off there, but I may do another one tonight because I do have lots more interesting stuff to go over. And I hope that you will listen to that as well. So if you have time. Now, that's it for now, tonight. Unless Q posts, I may do another news video, but if Q posts, I will certainly do a Q video. Now, so many people have been asking me about Patreon, and I never really got the whole Patreon thing, but I do have a Patreon page now, and we'll be doing away with the whole coffee thing. Now, I don't know. I guess my whole, thing with Patreon was I didn't want people to feel that, they had to contribute every month or whatever, because that's not my intention. My intention was, buy me a coffee every now and then. It helps keep the channel up and going. It certainly helps me because it buys my time to create content. It takes time to research and look into this. So that was my idea, but so many people have, issues, especially people that are in other countries listening, that these little coffee places just aren't as, I don't know. I don't know because I've never used Patreon myself, and you know, there may be barriers to people overseas or whatever using some of these other means beyond Patreon. I know Patreon's a huge, huge platform. So I'm going to see how it goes. I did open a Patreon account. Not quite sure what to do with it yet because it seems like different people are using it different ways. And I want to look into some of the different ways people are using it. I certainly will never charge for content on my channel. That will never happen because that's just not my heart. And it's counterproductive as far as I'm concerned. You want people to listen. You're trying to get a message out. So why would I charge for that message? That doesn't make sense to me. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. I am open to that. I will put the link to the Patreon account there. Certainly never any obligation. So just want to reiterate that. Now, if you want to be subscribed, make sure you stay subscribed. They do drop subscribers from conservative channels. So make sure that you stay subscribed because you will be desubscribed at some time or another. And if you want to be notified of videos, make sure to hit the bell button. And that's it. So have a wonderful night. Stay safe, stay well, and I will talk to you real soon. Good night.